I'm Hannah. I'm one of the senior account managers at Studio 88, and I'm sitting here today with Dr. Robin Pashby from Health Psychology Partners in Washington, D.C. And we're going to be talking today about mental health and dentistry. I've been really looking forward to talking with you because your area of expertise is so interesting. You specialize in that integration between mental health and physical health. So can you tell me more about your experience in that sphere as it relates to dentistry?
So I am a clinical health psychologist. So I work with patients who manage physical and mental health conditions, but I also work with physicians and with dentists who are patients of mine, because it doesn't really matter what side of the bed you're on, right? Whether you're on the provider side or the patient side, the struggle with mental health, it affects all of us. And so I think that mental health in dentistry has certainly in the last few years become much more something people talk about and build awareness around because of the rates of depression, anxiety, and suicidal ideation and completion of suicide among dentists. I mean, not to get heavy really quickly, but it's a real concern.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times when I've worked with dentists over time, I've really grown to understand they face a unique set of stressors in their field. They have this combination of high expectations on the part of the patient. They are doing procedures that are going to be seen by the world.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of pressure to make it perfect. They are fighting with insurance companies a lot of times.
Yep.
Not to mention they have their own businesses to manage and to, bring in patients. And it's also a really physically demanding job. So they're on their feet all day. They have pain in their backs and their hands. So there's just this combination of effects that can really be a negative impact on their mental health.
We hear this all the time from our clients, is that their primary concern is for their patients' level of anxiety and stress because people don't like going to the dentist.
Right.
And it's painful and it's loud and there's just all sorts of unpleasant experiences associated.
Everybody hates the dentist is this overused, thing that people joke about, but that actually does take a toll on dentists, right? They're aware when people walk in the door that nobody really wants to be there. People are often afraid. People are fearing not just the pain, but the feeling of helplessness being in the chair. There's a power dynamic there. So I think dentists do have a lot of responsibility and feel a lot of pressure to navigate anxiety in their patients. And some of the things they have to do are uncomfortable, of course.
So I was looking into some statistics and saw that dentists under 40 are actually more susceptible to reporting, even self-reporting, just higher levels of stress and anxiety and mental health issues than others. Based on your expertise, do you have thoughts about why that might be?
There's a couple hypotheses I have. The first would be that, like all professions, younger people in the profession feel a great sense of need to continue growing and learning and pushing the boundaries. And we haven't developed our full skill set yet, right? No matter when you finished whatever extra training you got in graduate school, dental school, medical school, you're still fresh when it comes to experiences. And so I think there's a lot of pressure on younger dentists to live up to the expectations of their patients. Number two, obviously, the younger dentists are more likely to have that sandwich generation thing happening where they may have older parents or grandparents to care for, as well as young families at home or trying to start families, as well as starting their business and dental practice. So just juggling the demands of real life affect all young professionals in a stressful way. But then I think also COVID just did a number on dentists. People who were within often 5 to 10 years of retirement took their retirement early in many cases. The number of people entering dental school decreased. The number of hygienists significantly decreased. So the pressure on dentists who are practicing now in this post-COVID time, their responsibility has gone through the roof. And the support that they have has decreased. So anytime you have added responsibility and less support, of course, that's a recipe for mental health conditions to pop up.
You mentioned COVID as being sort of a pivotal point of dentists, their level of support went down, their level of responsibility and pressure went up. Can you talk more about that? And have you seen a difference in the levels of them, maybe seeking more support, seeking therapy, things like that?
So I think COVID obviously affected all of us in a variety of different ways. The dentists and the physicians that I've worked with have suffered significantly more in terms of level of burnout, level of anxiety, level of questioning how they were going to be received and treated by their patients who had so much fear. And that, while COVID has obviously shifted and is significantly less threatening to a lot of us, the impacts of it are still in the making. And now that COVID is no longer in the news, people feel like, well, I should be back to normal. I should be better, right? COVID's not a thing anymore. Why am I still stressed out? And I think that's one of the important factors to remember, is that the impact of traumatic stress doesn't end when the trauma is over.
Yeah.
And so we are seeing now an uptick in more long-term chronic stress results. So people experiencing significant levels of burnout, needing to take time off work.
Yeah.
We're seeing kids and teenagers struggling with social skills because they lost several years of their development that way. We're seeing the impacts, as I mentioned, of hygienists not coming back to the field, and so dentists still struggling with fallout. All the PPE rules and regulations, how that drove up their costs. So there's just this sort of continuing, resulting cascade of mental and physical health and just environmental and social effects that COVID has left over for us. And we're seeing plenty of residual effects still to this day.
Is there anything that you can recommend just as like a practice to sort of lower that blanket of anxiety?
I think that dentists are, as a rule, there's still more of a bit of a stigma around mental health. And they're not the only profession, certainly, that has that. But it's okay, right? It's okay to need support as you're going through building a practice and doing this physically and intellectually demanding job and trying to navigate your personal life on the side. So I think if I could share any message to the dentists out there, it would be, please know that people like me, psychologists out here, we understand what those pressures are like, and we want to support you, right? There's no shame in having support as you go through this journey. And acknowledging that, I have anxiety when I'm seeing, 30 patients in a day and supposed to pick my kid up from daycare at 5.
Yeah.
That's stressful.
Yeah. You're not all alone. And,
right.
And there is support out there if you're wanting to seek it. So what can you offer our clients as far as like support? I know obviously they can reach out and schedule an appointment with you.
We work in person in Washington, D.C., but we also work remotely in, right now, 45 states in the U.S. and a few international locations as well. So we have a pretty broad reach, and we've worked with orthodontists, dentists, physicians, all sorts of different medical professions. If people want support from a group of people that they know understand where they're coming from, right? I think because of our unique training, almost all of us on my team have worked in medical settings. I did my PhD in a medical school. So we've been around the same level of pressure, the same expectations that many of our clients have. And so I think we have this unique ability to sit sort of on both sides of the couch.
Yeah.
If we look at statistics, what we see is that rates of suicide and self-harm are high among dentists. And I don't want to end on a sad note, but I do want people to know that if they are struggling with thoughts of self-harm, that there's real and immediate and tangible help available. So there's the suicide hotline, there's 988, a number that's universal. And I just don't want people to feel ashamed of having those feelings, because the shame, it only intensifies it and makes it worse, right? We can actually work with people and work to heal and relieve some of the triggers to suicidal thoughts, but we can't do that if suicide is completed. Right. And so my beg is that if people are having moments like that, that they really just reach out and get help, because there's no shame in getting help, and we understand it.